Welcome to the Practice Podcast, conversations probing the nature of practice. I'm your host, Dave Fearon, co-author with Peter Vale of the digital book on Practice as a Way of Being. Find it at mylibrary.world. And now to our show. You know, when I think of Hannah Cooper, who you'll be hearing me speak with in a few moments, I picture a softball speeding through the air and smacking into the catcher's glove with a sound you can hear all over the park. Hannah was a catcher in our women's softball team at my former school, Central Connecticut State. And for the last 7 or 8 years, she has kept her interest in coaching and teaching softball while also working on a paid career. But now she's moving into an entrepreneurial phase where she and a partner are creating a clinic for youth girls, particularly youth softball players, to gain some skill and some confidence and a heck of a lot of very sound advice about life, working in teams, being honored by your team for supporting everything the team does, all of the values that I find extant in what makes business go well these days. And a heck of a fast pitch isn't a bad idea either, given this pace of change in business. So here is someone I'm very proud to introduce as one of my former students, in fact, who took a course with me my last semester in the 30 years that I worked at Central, Hannah Cooper. Well, I am at it again, folks. I always love finding a former student who's doing something that makes me go, wow. And Hannah Cooper, or as we say in Maine, Hannah Cooper.
Okay.
Hannah is...
That's a new one.
Hannah is softball. Softball is Hannah. And it was 2016 when Hannah and I both ended our time at Central. She as a graduate and I as becoming an emeritus professor. And those years have gone fast. And just before we started recording, Hannah gave me a summary of all of the ways that she is working in the world, making a good living and doing a lot of good in the world, largely in the insurance domain, Hannah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you could put 100% of your time, if you chose to, in your occupation, data work in technology, a lot of fast breaking stuff.
Yep.
And yet you have carved out a part of your life and your wealth. She's laughing about wealth, folks, but to start something, to create the Cooper Clinic for softball, and it's for young girls and young teens, and maybe older teens. But how did you get that into your life? It's an amazing undertaking.
Thank you. I mean, I've been giving lessons for quite some time now, even when I was in college, every once in a while a parent would approach me and say, hey, like, would you mind giving my daughter a lesson? And I would obviously take them up on that opportunity. And then as, I've gotten better at coaching over the years, I coached different travel teams or volunteered with different coaches to help with their programs. My name's been out there. So it's been more word of mouth type of, process where like, hey, Hannah Cooper is really good. Like, she gave my daughter a lesson. You should give her a text, see if you can set something up. So over time, my clientele grew. For many years, it kept growing, it's really nice to see because I played in college. I loved it. I made a lot of great people. I made a lot of great families, and I tell everyone all the time, it's not about. I know a friend told me it's not about who you know, it's what you know. But then again, it's also who knows you. So a good friend of mine told me that.
I like that a lot because that is the perfect circle.
And so with that, a friend of mine, his name is Danny. He's also my business partner, Danny Laguerre, who he works for Bird and Media. He approached me. I coached his daughter 1 year, and he said, "Hey, you got something here. Like you do a really good job. You're a really good coach. If you're interested, I can help you make a little bit extra money." And I said, "Oh yeah, let's talk." So he had me in. We talked on a podcast for a little bit at his place, and then after the call, we talked about some opportunities of what we could do, and we agreed that he would help me with the marketing piece. And as I've gotten, we haven't even hit a year yet, and I've
Oh,
started.
really? Is that young?
Is that young? Yeah, I think I
Wow.
started in August of 2023.
Yeah.
So yeah, not quite a year yet, and it's been growing ever since. I've met a lot of great people, a lot of new players, and a lot of great parents that are interested in getting their players or their children better at playing. And I like that. Like if kids are interested in playing, getting better, and learning the fundamentals correctly, I'm all about it. And I think the softball culture has changed since I played, where used to be all about fundamentals and working hard and getting yourself better. But now I feel like it's more about, hey, we need to win, win. I'm like, I
Welcome
get
to
that, but
Connecticut.
yeah, I'm like, I understand winning's important, don't get me wrong, but you're telling me your 12-year-old needs to learn 6 pitches even though they can't throw a fastball correctly?
Yeah.
Or you're telling me that they can bunt all day but they can't hit a fastball outside? So there's just different things that have changed over the years for the game that I'm happy that I'm able to contribute to make kids better in all aspects of the game, being a good teammate, which is I say, and I say this to all my kids, that's the most transferable life skill you can
No
have.
question.
No question. Like
No.
if I was a bad student and I was rude and awful, like you and I wouldn't have this connection. Same thing with
No, you were never rude and awful. You were a wonderful student.
but it was same thing, like players that are, give attitude or, aren't happy to be there. Do you think I'm going to remember them or take them up on opportunities down the road? No,
No.
unless they change their mindset.
So this is a lot more than throwing that orb, that ball, and swinging that piece of wood or aluminum, whatever you
Yep.
use in softball. Um, I always knew that. I mean, I would give you folks a lot of writing to do about what you were experiencing in class and beyond. And I can still remember how you were easily bringing lessons of your softball life at CCSU into our perusal of how does organization behavior work and who succeeds and who doesn't and why. I really celebrated the fact that you had this commitment to our team
Mm-hmm.
back then, and I knew it was going to go somewhere. But a lot of times college athletes finish as seniors and that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's a lifetime sport like golf, but we get rid of our golf teams, unfortunately. But let me ask you about softball because I have a hunch I know my answer, and that is that a woman can play softball as long as she wishes, as
Yeah.
long as there's a game and a league of some sort.
Yep.
Is that what it's become now?
Yeah, you can play. I played maybe 2 years for the Stratford Breakettes.
Yeah, I remember you. I remember seeing you on Facebook with a
Yeah.
uniform. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that opportunity that Coach Stratton gave me, and I met a lot of good friends through there, and it's got part of a great organization. And then, I got a little older, didn't get to practice as much as all the other girls that got invited to play, and I was like, all right, these girls are clearly way better. It's time for them to show off and be good at their game. I wanted to step into coaching, which you will find there's not a lot of girl or women coaches these days. It's been a lot of
Yeah.
dads, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that, but it's a lot of dads that never played softball. So,
Oh, no.
and I'm, it's puzzling sometimes that you have someone come in to try to coach a team that hasn't played before, doesn't understand the mindset of a girl or a young woman playing. And sometimes they don't even know the fundamentals. Sometimes it's always interesting when I give lessons and I see the dad pick up a glove or a bat and they try to show their daughter what to do. And I'm just like, that's not right. Let me help you fix that. And it's
Now
fun
you're
for
going to
me because
develop
I get
some.
to teach the player and the parent. Like, this is actually what you should be looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. The clinic can only be there when you're there, or do you have already some people who are extending your efforts through also teaching and coaching at the clinic?
That's a great question. So it's mostly just me, like it because it's my baby. But I
Yeah.
love that I've been able to hire some people. So for instance, these past two clinics we've had, I've hired Steve Tyrone, where he's also my my trainer at a gym called Rebel Fitness, and he's been awesome with speed and agility, which is
Getting
a
the girls
loss.
fit, helping them
Yeah.
learn to fit,
And
basic fitness.
footwork, just footwork. Like these girls, it's hard. Even I'm getting challenged. He has us doing some speed work and footwork, and I'm like, whoa, I should have done this a little bit more in college, but it's a game changer. And I know in March I have a clinic with Coach Kelly Hennessy, who she's got a rap sheet of all her accolades that I'm excited to share here soon to have a pitchers and catchers clinic. And I know folks have reached out to me about scheduling additional stuff at Pro Performance Network where I give my clinics out of. I just got to find the weekends, the right times. That's the piece that I think I've missed in this whole business aspect is I need to do a little a little research because the one weekend I was hosting a clinic, not only was the World Softball Convention going on, but the Jocelyn Arlo from Team Oklahoma, like Oklahoma University, was in Connecticut. So I had a good turnout, but probably should have maybe picked another weekend where, the biggest softball convention in the US and Jocelyn Arlo, which is very well known in the softball industry, was in the state of Connecticut.
And what's this convention? Is it for adult players, or was it for?
Adult, and then players get a little bit of a discount, but it's usually held at Mohegan Sun the second week in January every
Mhm.
year, and they have a whole bunch of people come in and
Oh,
demo some new equipment,
demoing things and
coaches
giving
talking,
clinics. Yeah.
and yeah, instruction too, like new drills, things that can help players out. It's really cool. I've yet to go, and I know that sounds bad, but usually the
Well,
last couple of years it's been busy. It's been really busy.
and you have a day job,
Yeah, too.
but you're an entrepreneur now, and you're learning sometimes like having a wet fish smack you in the face, the thrills and chills of entrepreneurship. But
Yeah.
the purpose of which for which you're doing it is consistently from where I met you to
Mhm.
now. And I think that's really important in terms of your authenticity and your willingness to take a smack in the face every once in a while. Uh, if you had to stop it tomorrow, God forbid, there would have already been some of these kids, to call them kids, who now are more aware of themselves and their potential, and how if you do things fundamentally correctly, you can do other things on top of that. Those are the lessons they're learning. Now, if you can extend your clinics and find other ways to expand that opportunity for kids. Of course, they got to be in school all day and weekends, but still,
Yeah.
what a difference it's making in these young lives.
I hope so. And I like
Can
that
you
I
find,
can.
you think of someone who came to you and was like, my parents made me do this, or I don't know why I'm here. And then later on, they were singing another tune.
I've seen that a few times where I don't know if I love softball anymore. And like when a kids come to me with that,
Mm.
my first question is it the coach? And I know that shouldn't be like or is it like do you really not enjoy playing softball? And sometimes it's a mixture of both, and sometimes they'll tell me some of the challenges they're facing with their coach or what the coach is saying. And I will say to them, hey, that's not appropriate of your coach to be saying that or doing that, but here's maybe how you can approach it. Because again, the way a coach talks to you, I know they're an adult, and some players have some challenges confronting their coaches about how they're feeling because it's intimidating. Like you're a teenager approaching an adult who, kids think all adults are right all the time. That's not true, right?
I can
But
attest to
yeah,
that.
the adults are not always right. And I found that out later. Like there's sometimes I'll say something, I'm like, that wasn't right. And you
Hmm.
learn. But I asked the players like, hey, like, can you have a conversation with them? If you don't feel comfortable, maybe ask your parent to stand by you as you try to tell them how you feel. Tell your parent how you feel. This is what you want to convey to your coach, and have them stand next to you if you don't feel comfortable. And if you miss something, your parents right there to help you and back you up. And that way you get the practice of confronting somebody. Because let's face it, when you're an adult, you got to have those hard conversations with your boss, have those
All the
conversations
time.
with your friends, coworkers.
Yep.
So it's
Life
an important
lesson.
trait.
And do they tend to, can you keep them there and help them extend their love of the game most of the time?
Most of the time. And there's some apples where some, I call them apples, players where they didn't get enough playing time, or they didn't like the way they were put in the batting order, and they'll get mad, which at that point I'm already disappointed, because they didn't know, coach has clearly told them, hey, you're part of a team. It's we before me. So the fact that you're upset about where you're at in the lineup tells me you're more concerned about yourself and not how you can change the outcome of this game or help your team win or
Yeah.
make your teammates better. And I've had to learn that along the way. I was one of those players that was selfish when I was younger and was concerned about how I performed, because I knew I had to go home and explain to my parents like, hey, yeah, I was 0 for 4 today. But I was like, we won that game. Why am I upset that
Yeah.
that about myself when we won a really important game? So it took a lot of great adults, like my coach Colehep and Coach Barbaro down in Pennsylvania, to help me figure that out. And I'm very grateful for that, or else I would not have been. I think I'm a pretty cool adult. I think I'm pretty good. I'm a nice coach. I get along with everyone. I do a good job. I work hard. So I have a lot of people to thank and attest to for making me who I am, including you, right? Being
Well,
able to
thank you.
try that, like talk about that stuff in classroom. Like who gets
We
to be able to learn about business and think about their future, how I can impact it. And now here I am.
that was the deal that I offered you guys. Every course I ever taught there was about the future.
Yeah.
Whether it was introduction to management or the quality course or the knowledge course, the innovation course, it was always, and not just the future, your future.
Yeah.
I was emphatic about that. And that
Mhm.
was, as you are working with these apples now,
Yeah.
it's their future. I mean,
Yep.
imagine if you had five and four went on and did a far better with their teams in high school, and then went on and had attracted the attention of a softball coach at a college.
Mhm.
Now there's a chance, maybe a scholarship. I mean, we can dream, but at
Yeah.
least they would be invited. And I remember sitting in my office on Friday afternoons. I'd get a call from a women's basketball coach or the women's soccer coach or the women's softball coach, men's softball. There was whoever it was. They'd said, could I just bring a candidate over, someone I'd like to encourage to come to Central? And of course, I would say yes.
Yeah.
And they'd come through the door, and the coach would kind of stand out at the door going, don't blow it, don't blow it. This is a really good player. I need this
Yeah.
person. And I think I talked a couple into coming. And what I said was, come for the teaching. You're going to see prettier campuses, and you're going to see more whiz bang stuff. And you're certainly likely to see a better field house. You'll see a
Yeah.
field house, which we don't have. But the people here make it work,
Yep.
regardless of what they've been given in terms of facilities and other things. They make it work, and that's going to teach you a lesson, because you're not going to be rolling into every job that's completely set up for you and find it an easy thing. You're going to learn how to make do, make it work. So here I am preaching to the choir, Hannah Cooper. I want to ask you another thing, but I was just reviewing one of your Facebook posts, and I saw this kid take this ball. To me, it looked like the side of a bowling ball, but it was a softball, and whip that ball looked to me like 200 yards, but it was from there to the plate, and it
Okay.
smacked into that glove.
Was
And I
okay.
thought, holy crap. I would not want to be hit by that particular pitch. That could do some harm.
Hmm.
But so a part of their becoming better is very much shows up in those kind of performances of how they throw. Then there are some you had throwing from the field,
Yep.
doing the long throw, and that ball must weigh 10 pounds. Am I exaggerating?
A little bit.
So tell me about some of the skills that you really reinforce with these kids while you have them in these weekend clinics.
Depends on the clinic, but if I'm doing like a hitting clinic,
Or doing tutoring, yeah.
yeah, if we're especially hitting clinics, I have them work on making sure they have a good balance, right? I use the corny reference, like when you build a house, where do you start? You start at the bottom, right? You don't start in the attic, you start in the basement. So we have to make sure we have a good foundation. So if you have a very weak stance or you're not able to balance, everything else is going to be out of control because everything
Yep.
builds up. So that's one of the biggest pieces. Like if I see a kid not able to stand in the appropriate position, an athletic position, we work on that. And there's, 3 or 4 drills that I have that I can fix that. And then when the kid isn't when the player isn't understanding how to stay stacked, which is a term I use to make sure that their head, hip, and knee are in line, which
Mm.
allows the player to make sure they're turning behind contact. I have drills for that. And then we kind of keep building up. So when I have players that cast out their bottom hand, right, they're reaching for the ball, not keeping their hands inside. We talk about keeping their hands along the train track. We talk about making sure they're getting to a good palm up, palm down position. Now I know that I'm saying all this and you're like, whoa, that's a
No, it's
lot.
helping me with my golf swing, so I'm listening.
If you need you need help with golf, my boyfriend, that's how we met. It was actually at Central. The year they went out when they were done with golf, it was the year that I met Aaron, my
Yeah.
boyfriend, my current boyfriend, and he was on the golf team, but we never met in school, but we met after. But now
Mhm.
I don't know if I'll ever learn golf. I don't think I'd be good at it.
Is Aaron
But
still playing golf?
yeah, he's a instructor at Full Circle Golf in Berlin, Connecticut.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
loves, and he wants to make it a business too. So it's really cool that I was able to find. It's been 5 years now. We found each other that we did something in college and we're taking it and doing something that we love with it. It's something we can do to better our lives and still have fun with it.
That's absolutely wonderful.
Thanks.
The other level, though, the attic, that's the head.
The head.
So I know part of it is just seeing,
Yeah.
seeing the pitch. But what about the bigger picture of reading the field? Where you are as the batter, who's moving off second, who's, where all the things that are going on. Can you help them understand how important it is for them to become like students of the game at the same
Yeah.
time they're going to try to hit that ball?
No, that's a good point. So there are certain situations, right, where you have a job to do, right? Where there's a runner on one. Let's say you've been struggling, you were 0 for 3 that day, but there's a runner on first, you got to get him over to second because you know the person behind you has been hitting the ball. So you have to, be a good teammate, right? That's the first thing because when you give yourself up, you got to get that sacrifice bunt down to get that runner over, that type of thing. Understanding there's a runner on third and knowing that you can't pull the ball, right? Because you want that runner to score. They have a better chance of scoring if you hit the ball towards the right side of the field.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's other things like that, like making sure if you hit it to the shortstop and there's a runner on one, you don't just jog to first. You have to sprint that out so they don't turn a double play. Like understanding there's so many things to it that you're absolutely right. That a lot of the times, I maybe should pay attention to that more. Like telling the kids, like, hey, if you get an inside pitch in this position, you got to know what you got to do with it, and understanding that it's not just looking at the ball, keeping your head and chest down when you're working on your fundamentals on a tee, but it's also understanding the game a little bit. So, Doc, you gave me a good idea to maybe help my players, like starting to read where base runners are a little bit more during my lessons, because usually I'm just, hey, you're in the box. This is what you need to look for when you make
Yeah.
contact.
It's a start, though. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
question that whatever they do in the box is vital.
Yeah.
But helping them learn to enjoy watching and reacting to the dynamics on the field
Yeah.
at the same, because my work with my son on we have some podcast episodes, and he's been studying the brain and how the brain works in terms of action,
Yeah.
inaction, what goes on with the brain. And basically the brain does everything you'd ever want it to. They're if they're playing, they're seeing all that. They just don't
Yeah.
necessarily know what it means. So you got the first part already taken care of. They
Yeah.
look, they see. Now the question is, what does that mean? And what does it mean when when the third baseman seems to be looking up into the stands to see if his
Yeah.
mother's there or her mother's there? And is that the time to hit down the third baseline? I mean, but they have a lifetime ahead if they can keep playing to
And if
soak
they
up
actually study the game, right?
those
They actually watch
dynamics.
it. They like that's the other piece. Like if you just watch softball, college softball, you learn a lot from that.
Yeah.
And that's the other like hopefully kids are, studying the game a little bit, right? And there's
Where are
all
they
this
going to
social
get to see
media.
it? It's not on TV. It's not what?
It is on TV more so now with ESPN, but if you're not like I don't have cable. I'm not paying for that. Are you kidding me? So I would have to look up the schedules of the teams that I enjoy watching and I can stream them, stuff like that. And or I'll see clips on social media. I follow a lot of softball pages and I'll see different drills or different teams making highlights in their game. So
Yeah,
there's ways to find it, especially with all these
it's
kids having a
there.
cell phone these days. They should be watching it.
Yeah, and I suppose YouTube might even have some full games. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, people can
I've had
enjoy.
homework assignments where I made my kids go watch a YouTube, watch their position, and tell me what you saw. What were they doing? What were they backing up? If the ball wasn't hit to them, what were they doing? I made them write me a 2-page document a few
Oh, yeah.
times.
Now you're like the old doc here. Don't just look at it. Write about it. Tell me what
Yeah.
you saw. Put it
Yeah.
in. Put it in. And you guys had a lot of writing. I can remember I'd send out a mess. Used to send out a letter, but then I started sending out an email prior to the beginning of a semester every time, and it would be about a month ahead. And here's the book you're going to need, or the books, and then I'd say you're going to be in teams from the
Yeah.
beginning to end, and you're going to be doing a lot of writing.
Yeah. I
Now I
remember.
maybe had a full roster of 35. By the time I'd reach the first day, it would be 33 or 32 because some were going, I'm not going to do all that writing.
It's fun though. You made it fun to write about certain things. I'm looking at my bookshelf over here. I think I still have some of the ones that you made us read. What was that one? It's not about the shark. Remember that one?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm 81 now, so maybe my
It
memory
was
is.
it was like the movie The Making of Jaws. The I had no
Yeah,
idea that shark was not actually like it.
like
You didn't see it for a
it,
while because it actually wasn't working. They found out it didn't work in salt water.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
and
It corroded. Those
yeah,
are the kind of what we call the oh shit moments that I was teaching you guys to get ready for.
yeah,
Well,
yep.
I'm glad you kept some books. I don't know if I used the book Inside Knowledge, which I did in 2006. Actually, I'm going to have this redone digitally to go along with my digital book on Practice as a Way of Being. I'm just working on that now. But I only pick books that you guys, I know how you guys would buy a book and then you try to resell it and all that, get 2 cents on the dollar. I try to keep books that you want to keep because eventually it'll come to you. Oh, maybe I'll take a look at that shark book because I just experienced something in
I still
business.
have it.
At one course, I used Willie Nelson's life story.
I have that still. I reread that book.
That Willie, he's 90. He's going. He's still out there. That was my whole thing to you guys. Be like Willie. I mean, don't do some of the naughty things that Willie did, but
Right.
on the average, Willie, one of the best phrases, and I think you're already exemplifying that is, he said, well, they took away everything for his IRS problems. He said, well, as long as I have my guitar and I can think up a song, I can make a living. And as I'm concluding our conversation, as long as Hannah Cooper has a softball, a bat, and enough room to hit the ball as far as the eye can see, you're going to have that Cooper Clinic going well into the future. So
I hope so.
congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Doc.
Thank you for listening to the Practice Podcast, conversations probing the nature of practice. If you'd like to hear more, go to Podomatic, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube. And please consider purchasing our book on practice as a way of being at mylibrary.world. It's a digital book with lots of features that you do not see in a conventional book. So once again, thank you, and I look forward to you listening again. Oh, and one more thing. Please check out our webpage at enactionresearch.info.